Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.
Good morning everyone. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 26th August 2021. Let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes. So these are the important developments. First of all, what we'll do is let us take overview of all these articles, then we'll discuss them one by one in detail. First of all, mains related articles on page number 6 and 7, editorial and op-ed page. First article, reframing global climate policy for well-being of human beings and human rights. Okay, so this is important from GS3 paper environment section as well as GS2 paper IR section. The climate policy, global climate policy needs to be reframed, and which are the elements or the principles on the basis of which this reframing should be done. Some important data and facts supporting this argument is given in this article. So a very good article from that perspective on page number 6. Then second article, adopting industry 4.0 in MSMEs in India. So this is important from GS3 paper economy part. So we will understand here what is this industry 4.0 term and why it is required to be, let's say, included in our MSME sector, the potential of MSME sector. Some facts are mentioned here in this article. So they are important for essay paper as well as GS3 paper, right? So we will take input from an economy section, GS3 paper. Then Supreme Court ruling in Haryana's creamy layer criteria case. Okay, so yesterday Supreme Court had given the ruling regarding this. On page number 6 in today's newspaper, there is one editorial talking about this particular ruling, and it analyzes what are the issues involved in reservation cases. Also it is giving context of 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, EWS, economically weaker sections. So we'll understand that from GS2 paper polity part. Now specifically prelims related development, central government raises fair price for sugarcane. So what is this fair and remunerative price given for sugarcane products? So this is important from economy perspective. What is this FRP, and on the recommendation of which body government decides this FRP, all these things, basics. UPC has already asked about MSP. It can ask the question about FRP also. Then Jal Shakti Ministry has launched Sujalam campaign. So for grey water management in rural areas, this Sujalam campaign as a part of Swachh Bharat mission second phase has been launched. So this is important from governance and government schemes and policies perspective. Okay, what is this Sujalam campaign? We'll learn about this. Then Fukushima nuclear water to be released via undersea tunnel. So Japan government had recently decided that it will release a nuclear water infected with, we can say, nuclear radiations into the sea, but at a farther distances by constructing underwater tunnel. Okay, so that the nearby fishing areas are not impacted. So this is important from environment and science perspective, how it is affecting nuclear technology. Fukushima Daiichi event of 2011, all these things will have follow up here. Finally, some practice prelims MCQs on today's current affairs. Okay, let us go into details of all these articles. First article on page number 6, negotiating the new global climate policy. So the writer is talking about the changes that are required in the present global climate policy that we are having. Okay, so this is important. First of all, in the first part it is talking about policy significance of IPCC report. What is the policy significance of recent IPCC assessment report 6? Okay, 6th assessment report we have discussed already even in ED class. So significance of IPCC report says that whatever climate change, or we can say global warming, that is happening, this will require some kind of cumulative emissions reduction. Individual net zero carbon emissions is not going to be attained, or we can say whatever the target that are there in Paris Agreement will not be achieved unless and until we bring down this cumulative emissions. This is the important inference that we can take from this IPCC report as a policy input here. Then reframing negotiations is required in terms of bringing per person or per capita emissions and human well-being. On these two principles, there is requirement of reframing this. Now let us discuss first one, per capita emissions. Some facts are mentioned, you can use these facts, like for example global average per capita emissions 6.55 tons of CO2. This is global per capita emission. If we are talking about now some of the developing countries like USA or Canada, Australia, so they have around more than 2.5 times of global average per capita emissions. If we are talking about China, it is around 6.4 tons of CO2, just we can say below global average. But if you are talking about India, it is 1.95 tons of CO2. That is, you can see here, less than third of the global average per capita emissions. This is the situation. Okay, and that's why we need to understand that we require whatever the remaining carbon space is there, we require that for overall well-being of Indians, okay, or third world countries, right? So where we can see that the global per capita emissions are much less than the average emissions. Yes. Now after understanding these facts, second thing we should understand is reframing should stress essential emissions to justify flexibility and need. Now what are these essential emissions? The writer is saying that some of the emissions are very much required for overall minimum basic living standards of human being. So basically it is talking about bringing the poor people above the poverty line and have basic minimum living standards. For that purpose, some essential emissions are required. For example, it is talking about the construction sector as a part of infrastructure sector. Construction sector is essential, okay, and this construction sector is taking up 25% of total global emissions, just because it is having energy intensive nature. At the same time, some of the iron and steel is used here. Around 50% of iron and steel global production is consumed in the construction sector. That is also energy intensive. There is no alternative at present for having other material used for construction sector, right? So for that purpose, we need to understand that these are essential emissions and they needs to be justified, especially for countries like India, where per capita emissions are less and poor people, their number is more. For that purpose, for their welfare or well-being, these essential emissions are to be considered. Last thing we should understand, strategic implications of ideas such as climate justice. Now India has been promoting this word, or our Prime Minister especially, he always talks about climate justice here. So climate justice talks about the poor people in third world countries. They have their inherent rights to use the carbon space, at the same time, whatever the emissions that have been there in last 200 years by the developed countries, they have used already their quota here, we can say, and now it is required that these people take up or use that carbon space in equitable manner now. This is the climate justice we are promoting here. Now, what are the implications of this idea? First thing, we should understand that whatever the impact of global warming is going to be there, this impact, some will be irreversible. For example, we can say that there will be increase in sea level rise, and that sea level rise is going to be there even if we limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius. Variability in rainfall is also going to be exist in even in the future when we limit that temperatures. First thing. Second thing, we should understand that the nature of middle class or lower middle class consumption patterns. This is completely different now. The present day middle class in developing countries like India and China has less wasteful usage or consumption as compared to in the past, which had done in Europe and USA or those developed countries at present. They had some kind of wasteful nature of consumption, and therefore that has resulted into the emissions. But the present day middle class in countries like India and China or other African countries, less wasteful consumption is there. So this aspect should be also there in the policy formulation as a part of climate justice, right? So in this manner we should discuss the strategic implications, and in way forward we can say that the climate policy, global climate policy should be reframed on two important principles. First, equity, and second, CBDR principles, CBDR and RC. Okay, so common but differentiated responsibility and respective capacities. And when we are doing this, we can say that the well-being, human well-being and human rights, these aspects are considered in the global climate policy. Okay, so in this manner we should understand this discussion. What kind of question we can expect? Global climate policy needs a reframing on the line of human rights and well-being. Analyze. So the discussion just we had, especially regarding per capita emissions and human well-being. So this should be included in this analysis. Any question? Okay, moving on to next article. Yes.
So as per the law of energy conversion, one form of energy is converted to another form of a basic technical term, sir. Then how we can able to reduce the emission? We are going to be using some energy from the natural resources or surrounding area. It will be converted minimum of basic emission. We are unable to avoid that emission. Then how we can able to reduce? We are unable to go into lower level of use of the resources. We are going to day to day, we are going to be increasing the resources uses artificially and man-made. Then how we can able to achieve that target?
See, there are two things involved here. First thing is that we need to bring equity here. Okay, when we are saying that the developed countries have already used the carbon space. See, global carbon space is, we can say, global resource, but this is limited natural resource. And if you are consider this as 100%, then around 70 to 80% is already used by the developed countries. And whatever the 20-30% is remaining, now developed countries are saying that together we will do reduce the emissions and use the remaining carbon space. This is how they are talking about. This is not equity, this is not climate justice. Okay, so first thing, this one. Second thing, we should understand that the developed countries along with developing countries, now they are aware about the impact of this global warming, but we are more concerned about development aspect or standard of living of its population. Okay, so for that purpose, at present the priority will not be reducing the emissions. Rather, we have to accommodate the emissions while considering the development, like essential emissions just now we talked about. Okay, so we have to consider that. At the same time, whatever the economic practices that we are having or economic processes that we are having, they should be, we can say, more efficient. There will be less carbon emissions because of that, and for that purpose we require more advanced technology. Now this is the responsibility of developed countries to transfer this technology to us. At the same time, the funding is also required for that purpose. Third thing you should understand is that already we are moving towards using the renewable energy. Now renewable energy is having least carbon emissions for that matter. Okay, so yes, surely what you are saying is correct. Energy is transformed from one let's say form to other form, but what we are witnessing at present is the emissions from that. Okay, so the chemical energy that we are using from the fossil fuels, so ultimately that is converting into heat energy and then the kinetic energy or other forms of energy. But whatever the emissions that we are having, those emissions are creating the irreversible impact on the human environment of the earth. Fine? Okay. Yes. So next article is it's time for Industry 4.0. Yes. So Industry 4.0. What is this Industry 4.0? First of all, we'll talk about that. This is the term coined by Germany or German government in 2011. Okay. Now this includes the updated or new technologies to be implemented, use of technology, new technologies in industries or manufacturing sector. For example, you can say Internet of Things or machine learning or robotics or data analysis, augmented reality. These technologies relevant to manufacturing processes, how they impact the manufacturing process significantly and result into multiplication of the output. This is going to be the future of industrial sector, and therefore we have to include this in our MSME sector. Okay, this is called as Industry 4.0. This is also called as smart manufacturing in US. In India, we are calling it as Make in India or Digital India. Basically, we are trying to include this smart technology in different economic processes, be it manufacturing or information technology or a service sector. Okay, so this is Industry 4.0. Now, if we are talking about the potential of MSME in India, very good facts are mentioned. We can directly use that in essay paper or GS3 economy part whenever MSME related question is there. So yes, MSME sector in India, so it is responsible for around 40% of employment in the country. Second thing, we should understand that it is 90% of the industries are belonging to MSME sector in the country, volume wise. Then they are responsible for half of the exports, and also if we are talking about contribution to GDP, 40% or 30% we can say, 30% of GDP comes from MSME sector. This is how we should understand the potential of MSME sector in India. Okay, now after understanding the potential, challenges faced by MSMEs in adoption of Industry 4.0. The challenges, what are the challenges? First and foremost is that lack of awareness, knowledge about this industry or these technologies involved in Industry 4.0. There are also some kind of misinformation and inappropriate knowledge about this. Many MSME sectors or these industrialist owners, they think that this will disrupt the MSME sector. Okay, it will lead to unemployment, it will disrupt this particular sector. So they are not aware about this. So they need to be made aware about the kind of efficiency it will bring, increase in output it will bring. Okay, second thing we should understand, it will require more financial investment in adopting these technologies. Third thing we should understand, it require appropriate work culture and employee response in MSME sector. Okay, so they require some kind of appropriate work culture, skilled workforce for adopting this technology. This is also the major problem, and we can say they will require some kind of policy support by the government, which is still lacking at present to adopt this kind of technology. So in this manner, we should understand the challenges faced by MSMEs in adopting this. As a part of way forward, just convert the challenges into way forward by giving some majors here. So for example, you can talk about technology demonstration is required, increase in awareness and knowledge diffusion, we can say, information diffusion concept. This is very, very important. That means various stakeholders like industrialists, scientists, innovators and academics, they can be brought together so as to bring these changes in the MSME sector. And finally, we can say that the government should provide policy support. Policy support in terms of, we can say that, credit facilities, okay, collaborations with academic institutions. Such kind of policy support can be given to MSME sectors, and then in future we can expect the spillover effect. Fine. So in this manner you should talk about the way forward here. Okay, so such kind of, let's say, question can be asked. It is futuristic. UPSC is futuristic in asking question. So whatever that is going to happen in future, UPSC asks already before years in the examination, prelims as well as mains. Okay, so Industry 4.0 is going to be there in India also. So how it can be adopted in MSME sector, you should be aware about all these things. Any question? Now there is one editorial on page number 6. It is talking about the recent Supreme Court ruling on Haryana's case of creamy layer criteria for OBCs. What is this particular case and the ruling of the Supreme Court? First of all, we will understand that. So in this case, Haryana government had come up with one policy decision, notification about rupees 6 lakh annual income as a part of creamy layer in deciding the creamy layer criteria. Now the problem here was that this is the only criteria. This was the only criteria decided by Haryana government to be separating, to separate the creamy layer from non-creamy layer. Okay, so this goes against the Indrasani judgment of Supreme Court, and that's why it was struck down by the Supreme Court recently. Okay, so what is this Indrasani judgment of 1992 and introduction of creamy layer criteria? In this judgment, the Supreme Court had come up with this creamy layer concept, because before that the central government had come up with the OBC reservation. But in this Indrasani judgment, the Supreme Court had upheld the OBC reservation, but it had said that there should be separation of advanced community within that category. Okay, and that's why it came up with let's say creamy layer concept. But the creamy layer population within OBCs, the criteria is not only in economic terms. Rather, there were many other criteria. For example, whether the person, or there are, let's say, advancement in terms of education, employment, whether there is, let's say, the father of the person is employed in the Group A services of state government or central government, higher positions in the government or administration. Okay, so this shows the advancement of the family. These are also criteria, not only in terms of overall income, but also in terms of agricultural land and property that the household is having. This was also decided as a criteria. So having solely income as a criteria is not, or it goes against this particular judgment. That's why Supreme Court recently decided to struck down this Haryana's notification. Now, after understanding this analysis, 103rd constitutional amendment introduced 10% reservation for economically weaker section. Now, there is some kind of conflict here. Conflict is saying that it is also having same criteria of rupees 8 lakh income. But for OBCs, having the large population in the country as compared to economically weaker sections in the general category where this reservation is given. So the population is different. The population is different, and the proportional representation in terms of reservation is also different. Then how this same income criteria can be there? 8 lakh rupees. How it is decided? Whether there is objective, let's say, determinants are there to come up at the same criteria of 8 lakh rupees, where the creamy layer in OBCs and this economically weaker section can be separated. So for that purpose, in future there can be further scrutiny. So this is going to be the next area where the Supreme Court in future may delve upon. What are the issues with EWS reservation? You should be aware about this issue also. Okay, so this is just a follow-up. You should be aware about the developments regarding reservation. So that's why we have included this. Now, for prelims examination, central government raises fair price of sugarcane. Okay, so fair and remuneration price is that price wherein minimum price at which the rate of sugarcane is to be purchased by the sugar mills from the farmers. Need to understand there is difference between fair and remunerating price, fair and remunerative price, and second is minimum selling price. The minimum selling price, this is different than MSP. It is also sometimes called as MSP. Okay, minimum selling price is that price wherein these sugar mills can sell the sugar in the market. Okay, so this is unchanged at present, but the government has changed the FRP here, and it has been increased by rupees 5 per quintal. This is the decision. Now, FRP is fixed by the union government on the basis of recommendations of Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. The similar kind of recommendation by this commission is for MSP also, minimum support price for 22 such crops is given in India. Okay, now this FRP of sugarcane is determined under Sugarcane Order 1966. Some basic information about FRP, you should be aware about this. Now, moving on to next, campaign for 1 million soak pits in 100 days. This is Sujalam campaign launched by Jal Shakti Ministry. This Sujalam campaign is to create 1 million soak pits in villages across the country over next 100 days to help manage grey water management. Okay, grey water management and prevent the clogging of water bodies. At present, what we do is, whatever the grey water is there, that is allowed to flow into the water bodies that are there near villages, be it ponds, tanks or rivers. This is polluting these, we can say, surface water bodies, as well as whenever it is allowed to, we can say, in general, flow into these water bodies, that is also affecting the groundwater also. Okay, so that's why this soak pits, which are the effective mechanism, especially in dry areas, where the grey water can be safely and inexpensively filtered through soak pits. Generally, the cost of building the household soak pit is around 3,000 to 5,000. Now, this is going to be implemented under the second phase of Swachh Bharat mission, termed as ODF Plus. It aims to sustain and extend the sanitation gains by focusing on solid and liquid waste management. So, it is part of liquid waste management, the, we can say, sewage water or grey water that is going to be treated here in the rural areas. First phase had building of, let's say, toilets, construction of toilet and achieving the open defecation free ODF status in every rural households and persuading all villagers to use it. This was first phase and this is second phase. Okay, remember this, grey water management. Fukushima nuclear water to be released via undersea tunnel. Now this decision is taken because around 1,000 such tanks are there wherein this water is at present stored in this nuclear plant. This water is, we can say, infected by the nuclear waste at that time or nuclear radiations at that time, and now it is going to be disposed. Though we can understand it is treated, still it is having some percentage of nuclear radiations. Okay, this is going to be, let's say, released in the waters, ocean water, but around, let's say, farther distance from the coast, so that it is not affecting interference with local fishing. Okay, so these measures are being taken, but in future we should understand that such kind of release of nuclear radiations infected water into the oceans will have effect on overall food web or food chain, and ultimately it will impact in future on the human beings. So bioaccumulation and biomagnification concept, we learn this in environment section. So if in future such kind of things happen continuously, we do not know which species is going to be impacted more. So that's why the concerns are raised by the environmentalist. Okay. Now, what should be the question, answer to this question? Okay, let us understand these statements, we have to find the incorrect statements about FRP. Incorrect statements. It is minimum price at which sugar mills can sell the processed sugar. No, this is incorrect statement. This is minimum selling price the statement is talking. But other FRP is the price at which these sugar mills buy the sugarcane from the farmers. Okay, that is FRP. Now, it is announced by the union government on the basis of recommendations of Commission for Agriculture Cost. This is correct statement. It is applied to sugar producing states only. This is incorrect. This is applied uniformly throughout the country in all states. Rather, many of the states, they have their own FRP which is generally higher than the central government's FRP. For example, last week Punjab government had increased its state FRP. Right? You should be aware about these developments. Now, that's why 1 and 3 are incorrect statements. Answer should be C here. Right? Yes. What should be answer to this question? A. D. Yes, yes. Okay. So just now we talked about Sujalam campaign of central government is related to which of the following. Simply such questions will be asked, factual nature. If you are aware, you will write it correct. Also, you should be aware about what is grey water. Okay. So this Sujalam campaign is about grey water management in rural areas. Sewage water, right? So as a part of Swachh Bharat Mission second phase. Fine. So these were important developments. Any question? Okay, fine. Let us stop. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.
Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.